Jungkook didn't say anything. There are no official statements, no clarifications, no long posts explaining intentions or feelings. But precisely therein lies the uproar. In a world where every gesture of a great artist is always accompanied by words, Jungkook chooses silence. And for the internet, that silence feels too loud to ignore. In a matter of hours, the digital space turns hot. The timeline is filled with snippets of images, speculations, screenshots, and theories that collide with each other. It all started with a series of simple moments that seemed trivial, but seemed awkward to loyal observers. The last few days, Jungkook looks different. Not from his clothes, not from his hairstyle, but from his way of being present and his way of not being present. He appeared in the same place, on a seemingly ordinary agenda, but his expression was restrained, the look in his eyes calmer than usual, as if something was deliberately kept tight. There is no characteristic big smile, no spontaneous gestures that usually go unnoticed. Everything felt controlled, almost like an unspoken message. The longtime fans know one thing: Jungkook is not the noisy type when his heart is full. When he chooses silence, there is usually a reason. That's why one small detail instantly sparks a big discussion. The way he looked down a little longer, the way he avoided the camera at any given second, the way he just nodded briefly without saying hello. Nothing is explicit, but everything feels intentional. The internet, as usual, catches that signal faster than anyone. Speculation is rolling in. Some relate it to internal pressures, others allude to a greater dynamic behind the scenes, others relate it to previous moments that had gone unnoticed by the public. Pieces of old events are relifted, rearranged like a puzzle that only feels plausible now. For some people, Jungkook's silence is a form of self-protection. For others, it is the quietest form of resistance. What made the situation even more heated was the contrast in the reaction of the public. On the one hand, there is genuine concern. Many wrote messages of support, asking people to stop pressing, stop demanding instant explanations. On the other hand, there is a curiosity that is difficult to contain. Entertainment media began to pick it up as a mysterious gesture. Gossip accounts added their own narratives, and algorithms magnified everything until it felt like a hurricane. Interestingly, Jungkook remained consistent. None of the posts refuted or corroborated any of the allegations. The silence endures, and that is precisely what makes the story grow wild. Every hour that passes without clarification feels like an indirect confirmation for some, while for others, it is the right of a human being who is tired of explaining himself over and over again. Some industry observers see it from a different angle. They judge that Jungkook's silence may not be a coincidence, but an emotional strategy. In an industry that often demands excessive transparency, choosing not to speak out is the ultimate form of control over self-narrative. By not giving an answer, he forces the public to pause, to realize that not everything should be consumed as content. But the internet is not known to be a patient place. The storm is inevitable. Hashtags pop up, long-form analysis videos are uploaded, and every next little move is instantly over-dissected. Even his silent presence made headlines. Jungkook did nothing, but the virtual world acted as if it had said everything. Behind it all, there's one common thread that's hard to deny. Jungkook's influence is still incredibly strong. Without a word, without a statement, without clarification, he is able to stir the emotions of millions of people. The silence is not emptiness, but a space filled with interpretation. And perhaps that's where the real message lies. Will this lead to an open explanation? Or will Jungkook continue to choose this silent path, letting time answer? Nobody knows. For now, the obvious is only one. When Jungkook is silent, the world is not. And as long as that silence lasts, the internet will continue to rumble, trying to read cues that feel too obvious to ignore, yet too subtle to be certain. The silence grew heavier as the days passed without any change from Jungkook. There is no sign that he will speak soon, nor is there any sign that he is disturbed by the growing noise. On the contrary, his attitude seemed increasingly calm, as if he had come to terms with the decision not to explain anything. For the public who are used to getting pieces of the story instantly, this calmness feels odd, even challenging. Many are beginning to wonder whether this silence is a form of fatigue or precisely constancy. That on social media, the discussion turned into a debate. Some felt that Jungkook was sending a message about boundaries, about an artist's right not to always open up. But there are also those who consider his silence a sign of something serious behind the scenes, something that is too sensitive to reveal. Each camp felt that it had a strong argument, and each argument again extended the life of the issue. In this vortex, facts and assumptions are mixed, difficult to separate. Interestingly, some longtime fans began to recall similar patterns in the past. They remember the moment when Jungkook chose to withdraw for a moment, then return with a more mature work or attitude. This collective memory reinforces the belief that what is happening now is not accidental. Jungkook's silence is considered a phase, a pause before the next step. But this pause felt longer and quieter than usual. International media began to take notice. Article by article tried to read his body language, choosing words like mysterious, closed, and full of meaning. In fact, behind all those labels, Jungkook is still a human being who goes through his day without a microphone in his hand. Ironically, the more he did not speak, the more people spoke on his behalf. Stories are told as if they were the truth. In the midst of the noise, there are also voices that remind to stop for a moment. They write that there may not be a hidden message, there may not be a big drama. Maybe Jungkook just chose silence because that's what he needs right now. Yet these voices are often drowned out among sensational headlines and theories that draw more attention to algorithms. Jungkook's silence turned into a mirror for the public. It reflects how the digital world reacts to the information vacuum. Without certainty, people fill it with their own assumptions. Everyone sees what they want to see. To the anxious, the silence seems alarming. To the critical, that silence appears as a firm gesture. To the romantic, the silence seems a deep emotional message. Meanwhile, Jungkook kept going with his own rhythm. He is present when he must be present, does what needs to be done, then again disappears from the spotlight of words. There is no drama that he creates consciously, but the world creates it for him. And perhaps, without realizing it, that's where his true strength lies. He doesn't need to speak to be heard. Until now, there is no definite answer about what silence means. Is this the beginning of major changes? Or is it just a short phase that will pass without a trace? Time will tell. But one thing is clear, Jungkook's silence has left a noticeable imprint. He reminds us that in a noisy world, silence can be the most powerful statement. And as long as he chooses not to say anything, the internet will continue to resonate, trying to capture the meaning of a gesture that feels too obvious, yet remains unspoken.